This video is for anyone who has ever thought of starting a podcast, for anyone who does not understand the value of having a podcast, and just to kind of like shed some light. I had some notes, but I think it's much more better if I just explain it to you the way I know it. I've been doing a lot of research on podcasting. The first time I bought a podcast gear, the Rode Caster Pro, which is what's connected to all this. Right now, I'm just using this audio. Is that was 2019 before COVID, and I have this thing of I like to spot trends early, and one of the trends that I spotted was like the podcasting world. I started seeing companies and organizations and people just wrapping their ideas around a podcast. And I want to tell you why it's so powerful from a content perspective, because I've been doing content for the last maybe 5-6 years, and it's not easy. I will just let you know ahead of time. It's not easy creating content. And especially being consistent. Yeah, you can make content today by just staying consistent, creating content. It's not easy. It's a full-time job. Yeah, people get paid full-time to do content. And I'm so blessed to be one of those people that I get to use my creativity, the gifts that God has given me to be able to provide for my family. And it's an honor. It's a dream come true. Yeah, I love what I do, but it's a lot of work. It is a lot of work. Just setting up, tearing down, even with this studio, just more than just creating the atmosphere. There's cleaning, there's setup, there's editing time. There's a lot that goes into it to see a final product, and I love it. And I love it, and that's why it's important to do the things that you love, because even I can stay up to midnight right now doing this. I'm really, really tired, but I can push myself because I find a lot of fulfillment and joy around it. So going back to podcasting, and the reason why I was telling you all that is because after just, spending time with companies and recording content for them and going to people's homes and recording, content for their offers. And I have done all that, we've rented spaces, we've rented Airbnbs. I have done it all. And one of the things that I think is so important that can really scale and help you to be consistent is two things. One is batch creating, because you do not have all day, every day. You can't wake up every single day thinking of what am I going to post today? Okay, so that is one. But there's also value in doing that because you stay ahead of the trend, you know what's working, what's not working, you're able to create content as you go. But if you know you're busy, if you know that you need time for fulfillment, because it's one thing to be able. So what podcasting does is it pre-sells your offer. That way you're not trying to do sales calls or trying to convince people into buying into your product or your service or your coaching program. Yeah. So podcasting pre-sells them for that. Okay. And you can be strategic about this. And I'll start sharing some strategies around this because it's important for me. I'm very, very invested in everyone who sits here. I want it to work out. So I am constantly doing my research, and I might turn this into my own podcast, helping the podcasters who sit here or anyone out there be able to create podcasts that are building trust, that are sending people towards something, and hopefully build sponsorship so that you're not paying for the podcast session, because it's expensive to produce a show. The people who sit on these chairs, as in it's a sacrifice, it's an investment. It's worth it. It's really, really worth it, but it's also an investment. And so my goal here at Vine Studio is to be able to create a platform where I can kind of like do the research for the podcasters who sit on this chair or any other studio out there, and kind of provide value. So that's what I want to do. But now going back again to why I think like podcasts is the way to go is I mentioned one, bunch creating, because you don't have all the time, because there are different what it was, segments or the funnel or the process. Let me call it the process. There's the lead generation, and that's where the podcast sits. Because you're sitting down here. Hopefully, you have a guest. Even if you don't have a guest, you're just seated down in. All this is by it's very strategic. I want to create an experience or environment that you feel like you're at home. Because that's how a podcast becomes so powerful, because people are actually seated down at home on a Friday night or a Saturday night watching your podcast. And when they see the environment that looks like their home, they're like, I can trust those people. So this is by design. This is by design. And I'll continue to create more sets. We have 3 more rooms that will create different sets as we continue. I just added some curtains up here. I'll kind of like show you, might be behind the scenes. I've added some curtains. That way we can pull the curtains different colors and kind of like change the scene. I also have some I can replace this. Yeah, I'm building like different sets that we can just put them out here and put the curtains, and it will completely change the set. And of course, we're gonna add different sets and different chairs in the different rooms. So, and the reason why we're doing that is to create like this home environment. And so when you show up and people see this scene, they're like, this is home. And that's what you want to create. This is a voice that I can trust. So by just doing that and having good quality audio, good lighting, just the right environment, you just have to show up. You don't have to set up anything. That is what we're creating here at Vine Studio. So that's number 1. Number 2, you want to just set maybe 3, 4 hours a month and come to the studio or any studio, and you bunch create. You want to pick up like 3, 4 outfits, depending on the energy level and how many guests you've invited. I've seen people even do like 2-hour podcast and they cut them into 30-minute segments. So those are 4 episodes that can be going on your YouTube that are doing something. And we'll get to the other part of like, what is in the content? What are you discussing about in the podcast? Yeah. All right. So that's number 2. So now you're going to end up being consistent, because you are not only creating long form content, which is gold. That's how trust is built. It's hard for you to create this 90 seconds reel, which their shelf life is like 48 hours. After that, that thing is not going to go up again. I'm sorry. I've created content for a 7-figure coaching company. And after 48 hours, it doesn't matter how good that content is. After 48 hours on IG, that thing stops moving up. And if you want to go on the professional dashboard on your IG, just go pick even one of your favorite reels. It goes like this. After 48 hours, it dips. But that's not the case with podcast long form episodes. That thing might be flat like this, but one day, it just takes one day, or it just takes one reel, one video that is connected to this long form content, and it blows up. And there you go. You just got free traffic. And if it's blowing and it's doing really well, we can push some ads on it, because it's already proved that it's doing well and it's resonating with people, you know. And I don't know if I should create another session, but you know, I'll create more videos like this because there's a lot that I want to share that I can't share in just one episode. I don't want this to be too long. And so the other thing is, so we've talked about batch creating, we've talked about the power of long form content and how the shelf life for a long piece of content lasts longer than 48 hours. Yeah, because in the business of building trust, nobody's going to buy into what you're selling if they do not know you, they do not like you, and they do not trust you. So you want to bring your personality, you want to bring who you are, and that's the way you differentiate yourself from everyone else who's probably doing the same thing that you're doing. The other thing, you want to be consistent. So consistency, the only way to be consistent and produce content on a daily basis is by batch creating that content, because you are busy. And on top of that, you have clients that you're already servicing, so you can spend all your time with lead acquisition or getting customers. Because it is equally or even more important to be able to provide the best services to the clients that you already have. I would rather for you not to open up your program to more people if you cannot service the one person, because that one person, it takes a lot to get a customer. And so you don't want to lose them. You want to create a system in such a way that they're going to go and market you for you. And some of the best marketing that can happen for your business and transformation that can happen with your coaching program or your consultation or your company is the people who have already experienced you. They're your best marketers. And so we want to also create a referral system on the back end. Are we giving them commissions for everyone that they invite? Those are some of the strategies that we'll be like talking about. Yeah. So that's the other thing. Yeah. Then finally, as I wind up, is podcasting is one of the best ways to leverage other people's audience. So let's say we invite a guest here. They already have their following. They already have people that know them, that like them, that trust them. The moment that guest comes and sits here, guess what just happened? You just exposed your podcast to her audience, to their audience. And so since they trust the guest, since they know the guest, you're actually going to borrow the trust that this guest has. And you do not get people to trust you just in a minute. It takes time. So that guest has done the hard work for you. And so now they get to, let me make sure I'm recording, my friends. I have a feeling. Okay, I'm recording. I'm just by myself. It just hit me. I'm like, I hope I'm recording. Anyway, yeah. So you just got their audience. So if your piece of content is getting 100 views, there's a chance it's going to double. And you just exposed your podcast to their audience. And it's a give and take. Now, your guests or your crowd or your followers, they are going to also go find these guests if they like them and go follow them. So it's a win-win scenario where you completely start doubling or getting more reach with your content. Okay? I know that was the last one, but let me finish with this. And I think this is the most important thing. And maybe in the next episode, we'll talk about research. We'll talk about, just leveraging these AI tools. We'll talk about automations. We'll also talk about building your offer as you build your podcast, because it's important to send people somewhere. It could be as simple as collecting their emails. It's so valuable because these platforms, the audience that watch you, that follows you, this is borrowed audience. These are not your true fans. They could be, but until you have their email, until you get them out of these platforms, and you want to think of this platform as a funnel. You're just getting them into your funnel, into your system. So again, I have an all-in-one marketing platform that I use, and this is how I advise people to be like, hey, start where you can. Yeah. Collect at least an email. There's so many platforms out there, and I can make some recommendations for you. But I personally use Go High Level, which is an all-in-one marketing platform, which I think is one of the best out there. I'm yet to find one that is all-inclusive, yeah, especially for people in the beginning stage. I think this is an amazing, amazing, amazing platform, and you should check it out. I'll leave a link below, and you can go check it out. I have a 14-day free trial that you can go and test it out, play around with it, and see if it's something that you'd love. So I'll leave a link below. But you want to be able to collect the audience. You want to pull them out of these platforms, and either have an email marketing system, send them, put them in a community like school. Again, that's also an amazing platform where you can redirect people. And so if you ever watched a video, and so this is the thing, YouTube is going to put their own ads on your platforms. There's a way you can turn off everything. And so I always recommend people put your own ads in your own podcast, in your own video. So you can have a segment where you're like, hey, before we continue this podcast, I just wanted to let you know that we have a community, or if you would like to be part of the email, what are they called? Not campaigns. They're called newsletter. Yes, we have a newsletter where we drop weekly tips or advice or whatever it is on a weekly basis. There's a form below. Just click on it and give us your email, and we'll add you into the list, and you'll be getting whatever offer or whatever freebie that you want to give them in exchange. Yeah. So you want to plug those a couple of times in your podcast. If your guest has a free digital thing, or they want to get people into their funnel, they can sponsor the show, and then you give them the opportunity for them to be able to come and sell their course or sell their products. And so there's so many ways, and these are some of the things that I'll be sharing with my podcasters or people out there. This is one of the ways that you can have your podcast paid for, by inviting guests who already have offers or they're launching something soon. So you reach out to them and tell them, hey, my content really aligns with what you're doing, and we're building an audience. And most people will say yes, because they're either way they're spending money on ads. They would rather spend money to a very close-knit community that is following you, that is following your podcast. Yeah. So these are just some of the ideas that I want to share out there to just help people who are getting into this game. That way you can see a return on your investment. And even that, just the exposure that you get, using your voice, you never know what you're going to say while seated here that will completely change and transform somebody's life. Now, this is beyond even the podcast creating doors for you. And now I'm talking about impact. And guess what? You create one piece of content and you put it out there. You do not know who is going to be able to listen to that video. It can travel far and wide. It can go to India. It can go to Vietnam. It can go to Kenya. It can go to Canada. Like, your voice is completely amplified and it travels globally. You're a global icon by just sitting down and recording a podcast. Imagine the transformation that people will experience, especially if you're vulnerable and you share your testimony. This is on top of the amazing ways that you can monetize your podcast. I just talked to share with you where you invite other guests who have offers, and that completely pays for your podcast. That's one. So you interview guests. Number two, you just sitting here and sharing your experience and your expertise. You can eventually package it into a digital product. And you just need to produce a couple of shows to kind of like know what really resonates with your audience. Yeah. And it's so easy. Just go on the back end of YouTube Studio if you're posting your content on YouTube, your podcast on YouTube, and you're going to see the data. You're going to see the videos that did really well. And especially on the back end, there's a graph and you'll see the spikes. And so you can go back and listen to like, what did I actually say? Or what did my guest say that really resonated with people? The spike happens when people listen and they're like, oh, wait a minute, I want to listen to that again. So that's where you see the spikes. It shows the spikes wherever there's something interesting that happened on the video. Yeah. And so you can go back and be like, people are really curious about this. And you can, to validate that, you can actually chop that section and post it as a reel, and then connect it to the to the main show. So there's so many strategies, and I'll be sharing as we go along, that you can be able to apply and just start seeing some massive results. The other thing is, just the beauty of podcast is you can wrap your services, your coaching program with a podcast. And that is by far, and I think this is my takeaway. This is the takeaway that I want you to get out of this video. I know I've shared a lot of things. The thing that I want you to see, and I want to change your mindset, is you could be working way too hard with trying to create content, especially short form content, where you could just be sitting here once a month and bunch create your content and do long form content, because you never know what you're going to say within a 2-hour gap. There is so much value that will come out of your mouth that you will even surprise yourself later. And so that long form piece of content, once we schedule, post it, we can go on the back end and retrieve the whole transcript, put it on one of your AI chatbots that you use. I like to use Claude, and ask it to create a newsletter from it. I can ask it to recreate reels that you can actually record. And you can also learn from it. You can put the transcript and ask Cloud to help you retain the attention what words to use next time, how to use a better hook next time, how to create, because there's strategy in doing a podcast. You want to hook them continuously so that they stay on the edge of their seat. So you want to say things like, these are 7 things. I like lists because people stay until the end to be able to see all the lists. So that's one of the easiest way. Here are 10 things that you can do today. And number 8, which is blah, 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 completely transform my life. And I'll be sharing something about that. Now, all of a sudden, you're going to stay until 8 so that you can hear what is this thing what is it that transformed you and how did it transform you? So I'm going to wait until to hear that story. So you want to put these hooks inside your podcast as you go along, because that's what holds the attention of people. You can have giveaways. You can have some little, maybe you can say, hey, by the end of this podcast, we're going to have a secret word. And for those who are able to get that secret word, they are going to get maybe 20% off on our merch or t-shirts. Now people are listening for the secret word so that they can get 20%. Then they end up buying your t-shirt, even if they were not planning to buy the t-shirt. So there's a lot of ideas that I'll be sharing with you guys to help you just create better content. But I just wanted to just give you a highlight of what podcasting is doing out there. It has really been a blessing to me. I started this space to do photography, and it's now turning into like a podcast space because of the massive opportunity that is there. And I'm so happy to be able to create these experiences and this environment for other creators. It's just been a pure blessing, just hearing people's testimonies, and just creating a space where people can now amplify their voice, because there's a lot of technicality that goes along with this. I'm still also learning a lot, yeah? And so being able not to think about that, all you have to do is just dress up and show up and have your content done for you. I think it's worth it. I would pay somebody to be able to produce my shows and all the content that is still on my hard drive. I believe it's worth it. And if you've been thinking about it, I think this is the time. Whether in Raleigh, in Durham, in New York, in Kenya, consider starting a podcast. And in the next series, I'll create like a guide of some of the gears that you can use to even start at your house, But I'll also challenge you to start looking at podcasts around your area, because it is easier to invite a guest into like a professional space as opposed to your bedroom. And it's also much more easier to invite people into your podcast, into your stage, who would never consider even creating time for you because of their busy schedule, because they understand, high profile people understand the power of podcast. They also understand that they would rather spend their money on small niches as opposed to spend a lot of their money on big companies to do marketing for them. So they love these small podcasts spaces because they know that their audience are really tight. And whatever you're going to say, your audience is going to trust your word. And so if you've been thinking about a second income, you've been thinking of building a sustainable thing, a service, and you've been having a hard time selling it, consider starting a podcast. You will be blown away, because people are not buying the product. They can go buy it anywhere else. They buy stories. They buy your personality. They buy the way you think. So and the podcast does not have to do with the product itself. It can be a conversation around that. And so once in a while you pitch it. So if you didn't realize, I have pitched so many things. I have created an appetite to want to come check this space out. I've created an appetite for you to want to start a podcast. I talked about the all-in-one marketing platform, because it's also important not to depend on borrowed audience. So in a smooth way, not in a smooth way, in an organic way, I was able to pitch my offers without actually pitching my offers. And so, and this is a skill that you can develop. And the reason why I'm telling you this is because I want you to start thinking of how you can start pitching your offers without necessarily pitching it. It just flows well with your conversations. It's not far-fetched. It's not shameless plug. It kind of like smoothly continues with your conversation. And that's what you want to do. If you want to sell t-shirts, wear your t-shirts and you don't have to sell anything. Somebody will be like, oh my goodness, I loved your outfit. Where did you get it from? Yeah. So, and I know it feels like a lot, but it's not. And I also want to challenge you, start listening to podcasts and start listening beyond what they are saying. Listen to how they are saying it. Listen to how they start their podcast, their hook. Study them. All of a sudden you start realizing like, oh, that was not just a great conversation. You understand why it was a great conversation because you studied them. Okay. You can go even take the whole transcript and put it in Claude and tell it, hey, I'm thinking of having this conversation in my next podcast. And I really, really, really loved this podcast. Help me understand or dissect some of the things that made this very attractive to me. Why did this podcast hold my attention all the way? What is it that they said? How did they say the things that they said in a way that held the attention? And so we'll talk about this in the next episode. We'll be sharing how to do your research and how to build your story. You want to, in the podcast, you want to do a couple of things. You want to give people a new mindset. You want to give them new belief systems because somebody's not going to buy anything from you if they're still holding on to old belief systems, if they're still holding into mindsets that are not serving them. So you want to identify the mindset that people need to be able to purchase your product. You want to study the objections that you get from people who are not buying your product. You want to study the objections that they have. And there are 6 core objections, and I'll be sharing them with you guys in the next episode. So subscribe to this, like, and share with anyone that has been wanting to start a podcast. I think this is a good opener. And again, my name is Francis King. I own Vine Studio 158. We are located here in Raleigh, North Carolina, not too far from North Hills. And I'm so grateful to be able to serve others. And at the same time, I've seen how God has opened amazing doors for me by just using my gifts. And so more than just encouraging podcasters and helping podcasters, one of the things that I'm truly passionate about, and I think that will be the main theme of my podcast series, I'll start inviting guests, is I want to encourage as many people to use their gifts. And I know it's a little bit hard to be able to step out, especially if you've been making excuses for a very long time. But I want to encourage someone out there like, my goodness, it's not easy, but it really, 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 really does open doors for you. It really does open doors for you. I can't imagine the people who have sat on these chairs. Like amazing. I can give stories upon story. I've had people who have been wrongfully like convicted for murder sit on these chairs and share their testimony of deliverance. I've had some of the best marketers in North Carolina, like Shannon, even when she said, I didn't even know who she was until later. I was like, oh my goodness, that's like a celeb here in North Carolina, one of the biggest marketers on IG. Has sat on these chairs. I've had basketball players sit on these chairs. And it's amazing just to think about the people who have sat on these chairs. I've had people who have done a lot of cool things sit on these chairs. Biotech, friendships that have fallen away and they've reconciled. Stories of faith and redemption, as in it's just been beautiful to watch. And this would not have happened if I never obeyed, if I never took a step of faith and did what I knew God was asking me to do for a very long time. And so I want to support, I want to encourage more people. I think the words that I want to hear, good and faithful servant, I want to look back and be like, God allowed me to support so many people launch and do what they always wanted to do. And so that's my mission, to encourage as many people to follow their dreams. And if I can be able to support you in your dreams, I'll be honored to do that. So that's it. I am grateful, I am thankful, and we're going to end it there. But yeah, follow along the journey. I'm super excited. And yeah, I want to bring people who have followed their dreams. I want them to sit here and I want them to tell their stories. And hopefully that's going to encourage you to go after what God has called you to do. All right, peace. You, love you guys.